Imagine this. You find the n8n template library, and it's got thousands of these pre-built workflows for sales, content, lead gen, social media.
Yeah, the dream scenario, right.
Exactly. You think, okay, click a button, connect my accounts, and boom, instant sophisticated automation,
Yeah.
saving just tons of hours. Beat. But then, well, for a lot of people, reality bites. You get this immediate, explosion of red error messages.
Or worse, an infinite loop just churning away.
Or it's silently racking up API credits in the background. It can be a spectacular mess. So how do we actually avoid that? How do we navigate this?
Yeah, it's like someone hands you the keys to this amazing automation kingdom, but you quickly realize some of those keys could lock you out of your own accounts or, cost you a fortune. So today we're going to give you the full tactical playbook.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are diving into n8n templates. And they really are, a treasure trove for automation. But like we just said, they're definitely not simple plug-and-play things.
Yeah.
They really demand a careful, systematic approach.
Yeah.
So our mission today is basically to equip you, our listener, with everything you need to really master these templates, to turn that potential frustration into, genuine automation power.
Right.
We'll kick things off by showing you where to find the absolute best ones, the most reliable templates, and then, critically, we'll tackle the 3 big risks you must know about before you even click Use Template.
Exactly. And then we'll actually walk through a pretty complex real-world example, step by step,
No.
From the initial setup all the way through fixing those errors that inevitably pop up.
Oh, yeah, there will be errors.
Oh, definitely. And we'll even show you how AI can become your sort of personal debugging co-pilot.
Ooh, interesting. And finally, we'll explore some more advanced techniques like how to judge a template's quality, how to manage the costs involved, and then we'll lay out a personal action plan for you to become a real template pro.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. So this idea of the n8n template library, it's just incredibly compelling, isn't it? You've got, what, over 3,000 free pre-made workflows now?
Yeah, it's huge and growing.
And they cover pretty much everything. Sales funnels, content pipelines, lead gen.
Yeah.
You name it. It feels like automation just waiting for you.
It really does. But that initial dream, where it all just works perfectly, that often hits a wall pretty fast. You download it, you click activate, and then, you're staring at a screen full of red error messages. Or it's looping endlessly or quietly burning through your API credits.
Right.
The key thing to get, though, is that it's usually not your fault. These n8n templates, they're designed as powerful starting points.
Not finished products.
Exactly. Not install and forget. The real secret is understanding, 3 critical risks, and then adopting a really systematic way of setting them up and testing them.
Okay, so given that reality, what's the very first step then? How do we harness this power safely without, falling into those traps?
First things first. You absolutely need to know where to find the good, reliable templates. That's step 1.
Right. Let's call it the template goldmine. And your first port of call really has to be the official n8n template library.
Definitely. Start there.
It's the largest, it's the most trusted collection out there. Over, 3,200 workflows now? And they keep adding more. It's basically free to use, which is amazing. And the search and filtering are pretty powerful. You can find stuff for any industry, sales, marketing, engineering, finance, HR, you name it.
And for all skill levels, too, right? From the super simple save Gmail attachments to Google Drive kind of thing.
Yeah, the basics.
All the way up to these really complex workflows that could run like the backbone of a small business.
True. But what about beyond the official library? Are there other places worth looking?
Oh, absolutely. If you're willing to dig a bit, there are some real hidden gems on GitHub. These are often curated by n8n power users.
Okay.
So for instance, there's one called Awesome n8n Templates by Anishingos. That one often has really specialized workflows, sometimes with even better documentation than the official ones.
Interesting.
Then you've got Tulin and Workflows by Xi69. That's just a massive collection packed with real-world use cases, like stuff people are actually using.
Right, practical stuff.
And if you want something maybe a bit more curated, n8n Free Templates by WasupJ has around 200 templates, often aiming for that plug-and-play feel. Sometimes these community ones, they're surprisingly well-tested and have super clear instructions.
Okay, that's good to know. So let's say we've found a template that looks promising, either official or from GitHub. What's the biggest, most immediate danger we need to be aware of?
Ah, the big 3. The triple threat, trigger loops, API key exposure, and potential data theft via suspicious requests.
Right, the triple threat.
Yeah.
These are the three critical risks that can, genuinely mess up your account or cost you a lot. They may be rare, but if they happen, well, the consequences can be pretty devastating.
Let's tackle risk number 1, trigger loops. We kind of jokingly call this the infinite money pit.
Saying ominous.
It is, and it's probably the most common, dangerous technical risk. So a trigger loop happens when your workflow accidentally triggers itself. It creates this endless cycle.
How does that happen typically?
Well, imagine a common scenario. You use a template with a Google Sheets trigger. It's set to run every single time a row is updated in a specific sheet.
Okay.
Now, if later in that same workflow, maybe an update sheet node writes data back to that exact same Google Sheet.
Ah, I see. It triggers itself again.
Bingo! You've just created a loop that never stops. And the consequence? Every single loop might make calls to paid APIs like OpenAI or others. You could easily rack up hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars in bills before you even notice.
Yikes. Okay, how do we prevent that?
Right, prevention. First, be super wary of scheduled triggers. If a template defaults to running every minute or every 5 minutes, change it immediately. Make it daily, hourly, something reasonable for testing.
Makes sense.
Second, isolate your data sources. If you can, use one sheet purely for the trigger input and have the workflow write its output to a completely separate sheet or database.
Good tip.
Third, always test manually first. Run the workflow just once using the test workflow button. Don't just activate it.
Got it.
And finally, and this is crucial, monitor your execution logs right after you activate it. Make sure it's running when you expect, not firing off hundreds of times unexpectedly.
Okay, that's trigger loops. What's risk number 2?
Risk number 2 is API key exposure. Basically, your secret's made public. This is a major security vulnerability.
How so?
Well, your private API keys, the things that give access to your accounts on other services, they can accidentally get hard-coded directly into the workflow nodes themselves.
You mean like just paste it into a text field?
Exactly. And if that workflow is then exported, maybe to share it or back it up, the JSON file contains your secret key in plain text. Anyone who gets that file gets your key.
Oh, that's bad.
It's really bad. Think of it like your API keys or your digital house keys. Hard coding them is like writing the key code on a sticky note and sticking it on your front door. You just wouldn't do it, right?
Definitely not. So what's the right way?
The correct way is always, always use n8n's built-in credential system. It's like a secure, encrypted digital keychain.
Okay.
When you use the credential system, the key is stored securely by n8n. It's encrypted. It's never displayed in plain text within the workflow editor. And importantly, it doesn't get exported with the workflow JSON file. Plus, you can reuse the same credential across multiple workflows.
Much safer. How can we quickly check if a template is doing it the right way?
Yeah, there's a quick 3-point check. First, scan the nodes that connect to external services. Look for credential fields. These should always be a drop-down menu where you select a credential you've already set up. That's the green flag. Second, be very suspicious of any node that has a simple text field just asking you to paste your API key directly into it. That's a huge red flag.
Got it. Avoid those.
And third, just trust but verify. Templates from the official n8n library are generally safer in this regard, but you should still always double-check that they're using the proper credential system. You know, honestly, even with all the experience, I still sometimes get tripped up by those little hard-coding traps. It's those easy-to-miss details that humble you, reminding us to always be vigilant.
That's a good reminder for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's key exposure. What's the third risk?
Risk number 3, suspicious HTTP requests. This is basically about potential data theft. Now, this is extremely rare, especially with official templates, but it's possible.
How would that work?
A malicious template could contain an HTTP request node that's configured to secretly send your sensitive data, maybe customer information, internal data from previous steps, to some unauthorized, unknown server controlled by an attacker.
Wow. Okay, how do we spot that?
You need to do a quick security audit on any HTTP request node you didn't add yourself. 4 points to check. First, recognize the service being called. Look at the URL. Is it a well-known service like OpenAI, Stripe, Google? Or is it some strange, unfamiliar domain name? Be cautious of the unknown.
Makes sense.
Second, verify the exact endpoint URL. Does it perfectly match the official API documentation for the service it claims to be calling? Bad actors might use subtle tricks like api.openai.co instead of the real api.openai.com. Look closely.
Good point. Subtle differences matter.
Third, check the authentication method. Again, it must be using n8n's secure credential system. If it's asking for a key directly in the node or using no authentication for sending sensitive data, that's a major red flag.
Okay.
And fourth, understand the data flow. Look at what data is actually being sent in the body or parameters of the HTTP request. Is it only sending the specific information needed for that API call? Or is it grabbing extra, potentially sensitive data from earlier steps in the workflow? Why is it sending that specific data?
So really scrutinize what's leaving your system.
Exactly. If an HTTP node fails any of these checks, you should absolutely stop and not run that workflow until you understand exactly what it's doing or remove that node.
Those definitely some serious things to watch out for. Okay, so let's say we've understood these risks. We've found a promising template. How do we actually get a complex one up and running smoothly without hitting those walls?
Right. It comes down to a systematic process. Get your credentials set up correctly, configure the template meticulously, and then do thorough testing and debugging.
Okay, enough theory then. Let's get practical. Let's roll up our sleeves and actually deconstruct a complex template.
Yeah.
We picked a real pretty powerful one, the AI-generated ASMR YouTube Shorts template.
Yeah, this one's got a lot going on.
It really does. So what does it do? Basically, an AI agent, using OpenAI, comes up with unique video ideas. Then it plans these out in a Google Sheet. Then it uses something called the Wave Speed API to generate the actual video clip.
Right, the visual part.
Then it adds sound using another service, fail.ai. It sequences everything, uploads it automatically to YouTube, updates a tracking sheet, and the whole thing runs on a schedule. It's like a mini automated content factory.
Pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Now, what about services and costs? You need OpenAI, which is maybe 2 cents per video. Wave Speed, that's more like sort of 20 to sit off 50 per video. Fail.ai for sound, that cost can vary. Google Sheets, YouTube, email nodes are typically free. So ballpark, you're looking at maybe $0.27 per video generated.
Okay, so not free, but potentially very cost-effective if it saves you time. Let's walk through setting it up. Step 1 is credential setup.
Right, after you click Use for Free on the template page.
Exactly. AA usually guides you to the credential screen. For OpenAI, it's straightforward. Go to platform.openai.com/settings, create a new secret key, copy it, and paste it into n8n's secure credential field for OpenAI. Done. For services like WaveSpeed and Foul.ai, they often use what's called header authentication. So in n8n's credential setup for those, you'll typically specify the name as authorization. And the value will be something like bearer your API key. Make sure to replace your API key with your actual key. Sometimes, like for Foul.ai, it might just be the key itself without the bearer part.
How do you know which format to use?
Check their documentation. But also, n8n has a nifty little Ask the Assistant button right there in the credential setup pop-up. If you're stuck, click that. It's surprisingly good at giving you the right format for specific services.
Ah, good tip. Use the built-in help.
Definitely. Okay, credentials done. Next up, template configuration. And this is where most beginners get tripped up.
The tricky part.
Yeah. First thing you absolutely must do, adjust the schedule trigger. So many templates default to running way too often, like every 30 minutes or even more frequently.
Like we talked about with the infinite money pit.
Exactly. If our example workflow costs $0.27 per run, running every 30 minutes is over $12 a day. That's nuts. For something like daily content generation, change that trigger to run once per day or whatever makes sense. This one simple change is your first line of defense against surprise bills.
Crucial step. What's next in configuration?
Next is usually your Google Sheets setup, assuming the template uses Sheets, which many do. This one acts like the brain of the operation.
Okay.
The problem is the template expects a very specific structure in your Google Sheet, exact column names, in the right order sometimes. If your sheet doesn't match precisely, the workflow will just fail later on.
So how do you fix that?
You got to investigate. Click on the Google Sheets nodes within the n8n workflow. Look in the node's parameters, usually under fields or columns, to see the exact names it's expecting. Things like video idea, video URL, status, whatever it needs.
Okay, find the requirements.
Then, go create a new Google Sheet in your Google Drive. In the very first row, type those column headers exactly as you saw them in n8n. Then, go back to each Google Sheets node in your n8n workflow, select your newly created sheet from the drop-down, and importantly, click the Refresh Fields or similar button. This tells n8n to recognize the columns in your specific sheet.
Got it. Match the sheet to the workflow's expectations.
Precisely. After the trigger in Sheets, it's time for node-by-node configuration, the fine-tuning. You got to go through the key nodes one by one.
Like what?
Okay, for the AI agent nodes, like the OpenAI one in this example, definitely open it up and read the prompt. This is your chance to customize the style, the tone, the kind of video ideas you want. Don't just leave the default if it doesn't fit your needs.
Makes sense. Tailor the AI.
For any sheet nodes like read from sheet or update sheet, double check the data mapping, make sure the right information is going to the right columns. For HTTP nodes, just quickly verify those endpoint URLs again. Be paranoid.
Good habit.
And for something like the YouTube upload node, you'll want to set the video category, write a default description perhaps, but crucially, set the privacy status. I strongly recommend setting it to private or unlisted for your initial tests. You don't want buggy test videos going public.
Absolutely. Test privately first. Okay, so configuration done. What's next?
Now comes the really important part. The systematic testing and debugging process. Seriously, never, ever just activate a complex workflow like this without testing it thoroughly first.
How do you test systematically?
Start with a node-by-node test. Beginning at the first node, run just that node manually using the little play icon on the node. Check its output in the panel on the right. Is it what you expected? If yes, move to the next node and run that one. This way, if something breaks, you know exactly which step failed.
Isolate the problem. Smart.
Exactly. And trust me, you will run into errors. It's just part of the process. So here's your debugging playbook for common issues.
Okay, hit me.
Issue number 1. Google Sheets mapping errors. You get a message like column not found or similar. The solution. Look at the output data from the previous node. See the exact name of the field you're trying to use. Maybe it's video idea, but your sheet column is video idea. Go update your Google Sheet column headers to match exactly what the previous node is outputting. Then go back to the Sheets node in n8n and hit refresh fields again.
Okay, exact name matching is key.
Totally. Issue number 2, API authentication failures. Errors like invalid API key, 401 unauthorized. First, double-check the format required by the service. Does it need that bearer prefix before the key? Are you sure? Second, if you're still having trouble, just regenerate the API key from the service's website and carefully paste the new one into your n8n credential. And third, check for sneaky extra spaces. Sometimes when you copy-paste, you grab a leading or trailing space. That will definitely cause the authentication to fail.
The dreaded copy-paste space. Good catch. What else?
Issue number 3, missing data references. This looks like errors such as cannot read property URL of undefined or similar. This basically means a node is trying to use a piece of data, like a URL, that it thinks should be there, but it isn't. Maybe the previous step failed or didn't produce that output.
How do you fix that?
You need to trace the beta flow backwards. Where was that URL supposed to come from? Did that node run successfully? Did it actually output URL? Sometimes you need to use n8n's JSON expressions to explicitly tell a node where to get the data from. Instead of just hoping it picks the right thing, you can write something like generate video node.item.json.video URL. This tells n8n, go specifically to the node named generate video node and grab the video URL from its JSON output.
More explicit referencing.
Yes, and you can also add fallbacks in your expressions like item.json.url default value. This makes your workflow more robust if data is sometimes missing.
Okay, those are great practical debugging tips. What about when you're really stuck?
That's where AI can really shine. You can use a custom GPT that's been specifically trained on n8n's documentation.
How does that work?
Go to the ChatGPT store, search for n8n, and you'll find a few custom GPTs built for this. Pick a well-rated one. Then you give it clear context. Tell it something like, act as an expert n8n developer. Please review this workflow JSON for potential security risks, configuration errors, and optimization opportunities. Also, check for best practices.
Okay, set the stage.
Then, in your n8n canvas, just press CMD plus A or Fitilo plus A to select all the nodes. Press CMD plus C or Clittle plus C to copy the entire workflow's underlying JSON code. Then just paste that whole big chunk of code directly into the chat with the custom n8n GPT.
And it analyzes the whole thing.
Yeah. It'll analyze it for security risks we talked about, configuration errors you might have missed, ways to optimize it, and whether it follows general n8n best practices. Whoa. I mean, imagine the time saved there. It's like having an AI expert, someone trained on basically everything n8n, instantly available. Like having a team of developers helping you debug the really complex stuff.
That's genuinely remarkable. A huge potential time saver. So, okay, once we get comfortable with debugging and using these templates, how can AI help us move beyond just editing them? How can it help us start building our own solutions from scratch?
Ah, now you're talking. AI becomes your co-pilot, your architect.
Right.
It can actually craft nodes and even entire workflows for you based on your descriptions.
Right. So moving beyond just editing templates, using AI to actually build your own custom solutions from the ground up, that feels like the next level of automation mastery, doesn't it?
It absolutely is, and you can approach it in two ways. First, you can use AI as your node builder. We call this the microtask approach.
For specific parts, exactly.
Perfect for replacing a section of a workflow or adding specific new functionality. Let's say you want to replace a complex YouTube OAuth node with a simpler HTTP request node using a standard API key for a specific task.
Oh.
You could prompt an AI, like ChatGPT. Generate the n8n JSON for 3 connected nodes. 1. An HTTP request node to get YouTube video comments using header authentication. 2. A node to analyze the sentiment of those comments, maybe using OpenAI. 3. A Google Sheets node to store the comment and its sentiment. The AI can actually output the complete, correctly formatted JSON for those nodes, including the proper authentication setup, data mapping between nodes, maybe even basic error handling.
Wow, so it just gives you the code.
Pretty much. You just copy that JSON, maybe delete the old nodes you're replacing on your n8n canvas, paste the new JSON in, connect the nodes to the rest of your workflow, configure any final details like selecting your specific credential or sheet, and then test it out. It's incredibly fast for building specific pieces.
That's powerful for targeted changes. What's the other approach?
The other way is using AI as your workflow architect. This is the macro task approach. Here, you're generating entire, potentially complex workflows just from a high-level description.
From scratch.
From scratch. But the key here is the prompt. You need a detailed prompt. Think like a project manager writing out the full specs for a developer.
What should be in that prompt?
You need a framework. Define the overall goal clearly. List all the tools or services involved, like Google Sheets, OpenAI, Slack, specific websites. Outline the steps in logical order. Specify the trigger, schedule.webhook, searchly. And crucially, include requirements for error handling.
Can you give an example?
Sure, a power prompt might look something like, generate the complete n8n workflow JSON for a competitor pricing analysis tool. Goal, monitor key competitor product prices daily. Tools, HTTP request node, HTML extract node, Google Sheets, Slack, steps 1, trigger daily at 8 a.m. 2. Use HTTP request to fetch product pages from competitor.A.com and competitor.B.com for specific product IDs stored in a Google Sheet. 3. Use HTML extract to get the price from each page using CSS selectors, provide selectors. 4. Read previous prices from the Google Sheet. 5. Compare current versus previous prices. 6. Update the Google Sheet with the new price and timestamp. 7. If price decreased by more than 5%, send a notification to a specific Slack channel with product name and new price. Include error handling. If HTTP request fails, log error to sheet and stop for that product. If price extraction fails, log error.
That's very specific.
It has to be. The more detail you give the AI, the better the workflow it generates will be. What you get back is potentially a single massive JSON file that you can directly import into n8n as a starting point for your new workflow.
Incredible. So AI can help us build too. Now, stepping back a bit, whether we find a template, customize it, or build it with AI, what else should we be thinking about before we fully activate it and rely on it?
Yeah, 2 really important strategic things. You absolutely must assess the template's overall quality, and you need to understand and manage the potential running costs.
Right. Quality and cost management. Let's break those down. How do we assess quality?
Okay, quality assessment. You need to learn to spot both the red flags of a potentially low-quality template and the green flags of a professional one.
What are the red flags?
Red flags to avoid: really poor or non-existent documentation or setup instructions, screenshots in the documentation that clearly show hard-coded API keys. Remember, risk #2. Overly aggressive default trigger schedules, like running every minute for something that doesn't need it. A complete lack of any error handling branches or nodes. Real workflows need to handle failures gracefully. And of course, any suspicious-looking HTTP endpoints calling unfamiliar domains.
Got it. Signs of hasty work or potential risks. What about the green flags?
Quality indicators to look for: comprehensive setup guides that explain each step, clear requirements listing exactly which credentials you'll need, maybe even example input data or screenshots of expected outputs. Following security best practices, meaning it exclusively uses n8n's built-in credential management system. No hard-coded keys anywhere. And ideally, it includes specific instructions on how to test the workflow properly.
That makes sense. Look for professionalism and safety. Now, what about cost?
Cost management and optimization. This is huge. First, you must understand your potential API costs before you activate a workflow on a schedule. For every paid API service the workflow uses, OpenAI, Twilio, specialized data APIs, etc., figure out the cost per execution or per call.
Okay, calculate the unit cost.
Exactly. Then estimate your monthly usage based on how often your trigger is set to run. If it runs daily, multiply the per run cost by 30. If it runs every hour, multiply by 2430. You need to project the cost. And critically, go to each of those paid service providers and set up billing alerts. Get notified if your spending goes above a certain threshold. Don't rely on just checking manually.
Proactive alerts. Good idea. Can we revisit the cost for that ASMR video generator example?
Sure. We estimated OpenAI was maybe $0.02 per video, WaveSpeed around 10 lacem, Several AI maybe 0.5. So roughly $0.27 total cost per video generated. If you ran that daily, that's about $8.10 per month, 0.2730. But if you only needed it weekly, that's just $1.89 per month, 0.274. See how much frequency impacts the cost.
Big difference. What about optimization strategies?
Yeah, how to lower costs. 1, start cheap, scale up. During testing and development, maybe use a cheaper AI model like GPT 3.5 Turbo instead of GPT 4. Impossible. Once it's working reliably, you can switch to the more powerful model if needed. 2, reduce frequency. Seriously question how often the workflow really needs to run. Don't run it hourly if daily is sufficient. Don't run daily if weekly works. 3, monitor and adjust. Look at your workflow logs. Are there steps taking too long or making too many API calls? Can you optimize your AI prompts to achieve the result in fewer steps or with fewer tokens? Continuous small improvements can save a lot over time.
Great practical advice on cost. So as we look across all these templates, what common patterns are emerging in how they're built? And where do you see this whole area heading in the future?
Well, common patterns definitely include using Google Sheets as a kind of simple database or data hub. Also, multi-platform publishing is big. And good templates always have some form of error handling. The future, it's definitely AI first.
Okay, let's dig into that. Common integration patterns and the future of templates.
Yeah, so common patterns we see again and again. Google Sheets as that central data hub. It's just so easy to use as a simple database for storing content ideas, tracking progress, managing configurations, whatever. It's versatile.
Makes sense.
Then there's multi-platform publishing, the idea of generating content or data once, and then having the workflow intelligently distribute it to YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe a blog, all automatically. Very efficient.
Yeah, repurposing content.
Exactly. And error handling and notifications. Mature templates don't just fail silently. They catch errors, maybe log them to a sheet, send you a notification via Slack or email, or even trigger some kind of fallback process. Robustness is key.
And the future, you said AI first.
Yeah, the future of n8n templates looks increasingly AI first. We're moving beyond workflows that just use one AI model towards workflows that orchestrate multiple AI models together in sophisticated chains. Think AI agents collaborating. We'll also likely see more self-healing workflows, ones that can detect certain types of errors and attempt to correct them or adapt their process automatically.
Interesting. So what skills will be important?
I think mastering templates in the future will require a blend. You'll still need some technical skills, understanding JSON basics, how APIs work. But increasingly, the strategic skills will be just as important. Analyzing business processes to see where automation fits, being able to design robust workflows, and critically doing that cost-benefit analysis upfront.
A mix of technical and strategic thinking. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. After absorbing all this, what's a practical, actionable way for our listeners to actually start applying this knowledge? How do they get started?
Best way is to follow a structured, say, 4-week action plan. Break it down into manageable steps.
Okay, let's outline that. Your personal action plan. A simple 4-week guide to go from maybe being a bit intimidated by templates to becoming a confident template master.
All right, week 1, foundation building. Just explore the official n8n template library, get a feel for what's there, set up your basic essential credentials maybe for OpenAI, definitely for Google services like Sheets or Drive, then download and test maybe 3 simple templates, something easy, just to get comfortable with the import, configure, and test process. And crucially, practice using that ChatGPT n8n assistant for debugging even simple issues.
Okay, start small, build confidence. Week 2.
Week 2, intermediate implementation. Now, choose a more complex template, maybe something like that YouTube automation example we discussed, or something similar that interests you. Go through the complete setup process we outlined. Credentials, trigger adjustment, sheet setup, node-by-node configuration. Test it thoroughly. Expect errors and use the debugging playbook and AI assist to fix them. Get it running successfully, even if just manually.
Tackle a real challenge. Week 3.
Week 3, customization and optimization. Take that complex template you got working last week. Now, start making it your own. Modify the AI prompts to generate content specific to your niche or style. Look hard at the costs. Can you optimize it? Maybe run it less frequently. Use cheaper API calls where possible. And try adding a new branch yourself. Maybe add an error handling step that sends you an email notification if something fails.
Personalize and improve.
Yeah.
And week 4.
Week 4, advanced techniques. Now you're ready to push further. Try using ChatGPT or another AI tool to generate a small, custom node or a short sequence of nodes to add a new feature to your workflow. Create variations of the templates you've already mastered, maybe adapt the YouTube workflow for TikTok or Instagram Reels. And finally, if you've built or heavily customized a workflow that's really useful for you, try turning it into your own template that you could potentially reuse or even share.
Build your own. That's a great progression. So, after all this, when we really boil it down, what's the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive into n8n templates?
I think the bottom line is this. Templates aren't just pre-built workflows. They're incredibly powerful launchpads for building your own automation empire, big or small.
Exactly. They aren't just plug and play, right? They're these powerful starting points. But they absolutely demand that systematic approach we talked about. Careful configuration, thorough testing, and really intelligently using AI as your debugging partner and eventually your building assistant. Your competitive advantage, your edge, really lies in your ability to take these proven starting points, customize them smartly for your needs, and deploy sophisticated automations much faster in hours, maybe, instead of weeks of building from scratch.
Yeah, speed and leverage.
So the journey we outlined, from beginner to template master, it's clear. Build that confidence with the simple templates first. Really master the art of debugging, using AI to help, and then move steadily towards customizing, optimizing, and ultimately creating your own powerful, unique workflows. The templates are out there, waiting. Your automation empire really starts with that first thoughtful download.